think I'm live now. I was talking and let me switch to the other view. Now I'm live. Okay, I'll start again. So I think this will be the last day that we are going to just focus exclusively on this, and I'll work on it in between and come back to it. But I think I want to keep things really interesting on this channel. And anybody who hasn't gotten the guide, it was all inspired by this actual picture I took of a bobcat just seemingly to pose for me one day. And Chuck too, we were taking pictures of him and he just stood there like that. And so then I created this guide using artificial intelligence help in my visual image making so that we would have an accurate, just a kind of a 3D look at the way a bobcat looks with its fur, the direction of the fur and all that. So I think I've kind of covered what you guys need to do to finish this. I could take easily another month or two working a few hours a day to perfect something like this. And I don't want to be tedious in my live stream. So I think I want to cover more ground, and let me just show you some ideas. Okay, so I started out and I showed you this the other day, the stalking wolf, and that's a real photo. So we can't use that because that's somebody's, actually it's a screenshot from a video. I mean, you can go online and go to YouTube and use videos, and I highly recommend you do, and stop the action and then take a look. But what I've done is I'm going to create a new booklet for you. Good morning, Frank and Jackie. I'm creating a new booklet for you with these pictures that will appear to be all from the same distance. Let me do another one. I've already started it, as you can see. I think that's going to be pretty fun to do. It'll be hard, but it's these kinds of challenges that help you learn how to do sculpture. And blasting through more projects is also sometimes the way to get really experienced at just handling the clay. And so I have, they're not all, they're not all from the same pose, but it's kind of very difficult to get any kind of 3D on the wolf. I've discovered there's just no pre-existing template for that. So what we're going to do is basically let me close that one, use this view, let me close this one, and start off, and then start to reference the other views as if they're from the same distance. And I have other sides to show as well. So we have different directions, and we're using, for what AI? I like the Adobe Firefly. And Adobe Firefly, I have a full account to an Adobe suite. So I use Photoshop, I use InDesign to put together my little booklets for y'all. And I find that that's pretty good. I mean, you have to pay for an Adobe account to use the InDesign, Photoshop, let's see, Illustrator I use. So I've used that whole suite. Let me talk where you can actually see me. Oops, I'll keep that on, and there we go. So I've used that creative suite for a while, and it's not perfect, but then what I do once I get the images I want, and sometimes I'll put up a reference photo, so okay, say base it on this. But once I get those images, I take them into Photoshop and I try to make them equalized in a visual way. So I want you to be able to see the fur direction like we did with the bobcat. The fur direction was extremely valuable. When I turned this around, let me close up on this for a minute. When I turn, and by the way, I won't probably have the new camera until later next week. Well, we'll see. Waiting for, because this is blowing out the detail. This camera doesn't have the closing down of the aperture that I need. But as you can see, let me show you close there. See how that almost starts straight down the center and then moves out? And then it curves, let me try to show you this, curves around here. Let me show you the other view. I mean, it's very helpful to see the fur direction. That's why I'm not going to sketch anymore, because it would take me forever to give you the sketching. with the fur direction. So I'm just following this a little bit. And for anybody who hasn't seen, I'm using a technique where I'm taking my picture, taking my picture, and I'm just creating just softly incised directional lines here. And keep looking at my picture. It's easy to get to get mesmerized and just keep going, and then you're not looking at your picture. So I'm basically following this fur pattern that's in our guide, and that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. And then once I have that fur pattern, then I'll take my heat gun and my brush and this Terpenoid Natural, this product, on the brush, and just go over that. And I can make it as smooth or as choppy or as directional or as flared up as I want with the brush when it's softened. And my heat gun, I use the Wen heat gun. But guess what? You could use a hair dryer. So it makes it very convenient to be able to do that. The only problem with the hair dryer is if you have anything on your desk, it'll blow it all over the place. So anyway, back to the wolf idea. So Frank and Jackie, did you have any other questions about the AI? Because all of these I created. But then what I do is I make them as if they're the same size, and you've figured that out. So I've measured that out when it's printed out so that you can basically think of it as having a model in front of you in the round. Now, better than that is if you have a cat or a dog or an actual bobcat in your house, you should just take pictures of it from the same distance in the same pose. That's the best way to do it, but go all around in 3 dimensions. And that way, now you can measure your subject and get really great results. I mean, even if you're not very experienced, if you're measuring and, you know, anyone new, please go on the previous videos of this bobcat sculpture to kind of see how I've done this with the calipers. We don't want to kind of go over the same thing all over and over again, but everything is measured out according to these diagrams. So we have proportions are correct. Once the proportions are correct, you can go in on the fine detail. And that's the principle here. You know, I think that the wolf, let's go back to the pictures. I think that's going to be an interesting subject because it provides some new challenges for us. Like, how do we get that posture? How do we get that posture on the other side? And what I'll be doing is we'll get started, but I'll go through actual videos where I can try to capture the wolf in that posture in screenshots that I can then adapt to our set of reference images that we're going to need in order to do a really good job on that. And then some people might just want to say, okay, that's really hard right now, but let's just do a headshot. You can just work on a headshot if you want to. And I'll have that from different directions too. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a snarling wolf. It could be, it could just be a side, where you have a headshot and a side view and a front view. And so just kind of focus on the ears, the face, the nose, all those areas of detail add a lot of authenticity if you can get those. And let me, if I close up on my little nose it's really hard with this camera. I can't wait to get the new camera, but it's really hard for you to see what I've done with the nose. There's like a little crease in the center of it, the way they have that. Let me show you. These are the headshots in the guide. So I'll try to make it as comprehensive as these were. And those are kind of side shots of the nose. This is the best front view I have of the nose. So if I'm doing a miniature, would I use a smaller image rather than do a lot of math with calipers? A miniature, this is a miniature in a way. It's certainly not life size. And it's not really doing a lot of math with calipers. What the principle is you want, like, okay, suppose this already existed and I wanted to reproduce this. I would want to stand back from it from the same distance. Let me go to my other view for a minute. And okay, so I'd want to, let's see if I can, let me get the wolf off the screen for a minute. I'd want to stand back from this, like with my phone or my camera, whatever that is, and take a picture here, take a picture here, take a picture. See what I mean? I'm going to take a picture from every direction, plus pretend I'm from the same distance above. If I had the actual model, I would take a picture from above. And so what you're doing is, as you're building your clay up, you're measuring from your photos those distances. And what happens is you get a proportional sculpture that you keep, I try to explain a lot of times, sculpture becomes very elastic as you're working on it. And you think, oh, it looks right. Well, somebody comes in and goes, oh, those feet are way too small, or those legs are way too short, or whatever it is. And you would be shocked at how you can, especially with the facial features, if you don't measure, you can get way off really quickly, and it's really hard to get back. So, like, I have this face here, and I'm going to measure at like the eyeballs, kind of where they fall in there, and it is so much different from what you might, and that's dead on. This is so much different than if you tried to just visualize it and wing it. It's really hard to do. Okay, so Michelangelo, you think, oh my gosh, subtractive work in marble, right? How did he do that? Well, they had a smaller model they worked with first. And then once they had that, everything was measured to make the large sculpture from a smaller sculpture. So it was not like, oh, they just chip away until it happens. It was incredibly carefully measured with 3 points. It's called a pointing machine, and you'll rarely ever see this in the sculpture world today. But to make marble, a pointing machine was essential so that you didn't make a mistake in the marble, because you can't put it back. It's kind of like Mark, who comes on here a lot, does the wood carving. You can't, if you chip away some piece of wood, you lose the integrity of the continued piece, and you have to now glue it or something. So if it's 5 inches or smaller, oh, okay, that's a really good question. So if you want a tiny little sculpture, you want to change. Yes, you want to change your dimension down, or scan in your, like, say you wanted to make a miniature of this, and I've got it at a certain size. Scan it in and reduce it all the same proportion. So 50% or whatever it is going to be to make it the 5 inch, and measure that again. Sure, I would absolutely do that. But I have to tell you, one of the interesting things, oh, there's my limit, about when we made porcelain is we'd make a bigger face, and we wanted to make a miniature. Let me show you real quick, because I haven't packed it yet, I don't think. Let's see. Oh, maybe I did pack it. Well, I can't show you because I did pack it already, because we're moving. But we made a face for Thumbelina, or I did that face. I don't think I've packed Thumbelina yet. Let's see. Yes, I did. I packed her. Oh, I know what. Okay, so here we go. I can explain this. So I made these little guardian angel. I made the box too. I made guardian angel of cats years ago. And I guess I've shown this before, but so I made a face that was a couple times this size. And I mean, to make a tiny little face, it is so hard. I'm getting it out of the box here. And so what I did was, in fact, let me switch to the other camera, because I think I can show you this. Let's see if it'll focus. Now, the new camera will focus on this tiny little face. Oh, I am so disappointed in this camera. But let's see if I can get it right where I need to. Anyway, it's really impossible to see it here. The new camera will be able to do it. I'll just do it right here again. The tiny little face. So, and look at the cat. So this was my sculpture, but I did it by recasting the bigger face in porcelain and firing it. And I got it to miniaturize. So there's ways to do that. I don't know if I'd want to try to do anything like that today. My eyesight's not what it was back then. It's hard to show in that. Mark, hi, Mark. So, you can do it different ways, but definitely I would measure now because you know what? It makes it 10 times easier to get the good result. Anyway, so that was my story with the guardian angel of cats. I also did guardian angel of puppies. So I'll say goodbye. It's over 15 minutes. Gosh, I'm 2 minutes over. But I will see you on Monday, and we'll start the wolf on Monday. And meanwhile, I'm not going to abandon what I haven't finished. I just need to get you going with new projects so it's exciting and fun on this channel. 15 days is enough on one topic. So see you on Monday. Bye-bye.